Welcome back to the C Space Studio. We are here at CES 2025. I am James Kotecki. This is live, by the way. I'm James Kotecki, and I was going to say I'm here with one of my all-time favorite guests, Duncan Crabtree-Ireland. That's right, you're one of my all-time favorites, National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator at SAG-AFTRA. This is like the 6th or 7th time we've had one of these conversations at CES. Welcome back to the C Space Studio.
Thanks so much, James. It's always fun to talk to you.
Okay, so SAG-AFTRA, the union that represents performers and actors, why do you have such a focus around technology? Why do you keep coming back to CES?
Well, you know, we've been coming to CES for more than 20 years, James, and I think really it's because we know that technology is and continues to have a huge impact on our members and the entertainment industry. And I mean, I think that was amply demonstrated by the events of a little more than a year ago.
Yes.
Huge battle over AI and how it should or shouldn't be implemented in the industry. So, you know, keeping ahead of the technology, that's what it's all about.
So last year, you were coming off the strike. The writers' union had also gone on strike. AI and its use, as you're saying, was a huge component of those strikes. And I remember saying to you here in the C Space Studio at the time that you had made some kind of a deal with the studios, or part of your agreement was that you could talk to the studios periodically and just ask them, like, what are you doing with AI? So have you had those conversations, and what are they doing with AI behind the scenes?
Yeah, we're starting to have those conversations. Part of that deal also is that we can't publicly share the information that we get in those conversations, and you can understand it, because that's not all of them together in a room with us. That's one by one, because frankly, even though they're all together when they negotiate with us, they're very big competitors with each other. They don't want to share their inside strategies with each other. So I can't really comment too much on that, other than to say, yes, we're having those conversations. And I think it's really important for the future of bargaining, for the future of finding pathways to avoid a repeat of what happened in 2023.
Just the awareness of the technology, which is again why you're here at CES.
Yeah, and what they want to do with it. Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess maybe if I can ask in a general way, are you more or less concerned, having had these meetings with, like, oh, they're doing advanced AI that's far beyond anything I imagined, or they thought they were going to do something but they're going a different way, or what's the general sense?
I think implementation is cautious. Part of that is because the intellectual property landscape is very unsettled still. There's lots of litigation going on over how you can train AI systems, et cetera, and so that hasn't really been resolved. But I think also, I think the companies are starting to recognize, certainly it's something I've been pushing, which is what makes each of those companies special and unique are the human creative talent that they partner with. And they really have to treasure and value those collaborations. So I think they want to use AI technology, they want to implement it, but there is in many ways, a cautious pace. The one exception to that, James, is in voice performance. That seems to be on the cutting edge of implementation of AI technology, voice replication, and even synthetic voices, and it's an area we're really concerned about and very focused on right now.
We've actually talked about that in the past here at the C Space Studio, and I understand that when it's done right, when it's done with consent and everybody on board with it, it can be a very effective and a great tool. What are your concerns there? Is it maybe, I'm just guessing, is it the idea of like a sound-alike voice, like someone who's, I want a James Earl Jones type, but I'm not going to pay for James Earl Jones, so I'll just get something that's pretty close and replicate almost?
Well, I mean, there has been, that has been something that's been done without AI technology for a long time. But if you look at there was obviously a very public example with OpenAI and Scarlett Johansson. And voice is really important to people. A recognizable voice is part of a performer's identity.
And this was where it was speaking in a voice that reminded a lot of people of Scarlett Johansson, and Scarlett Johansson had some kind of conversations with them, and it kind of became a whole kerfuffle.
Right. I mean, there's a whole debate over whether it's actually trained on her voice or not. I'm not going to weigh in on that, but clearly the company had come to her, she said no, and then they went forward with a voice that a lot of people thought was her voice, and that was a problem.
So do you have, because of the way that, we talked about sound-alike voices could be done in the past, but now I imagine you could get through AI something that's so close, but then maybe based on some legal parameters, not quite to where they could skirt around some kind of law or regulation. So I'm just wondering, do we need new laws, new regulations to adapt to these new technologies, given the precision with which AI can replicate but not replicate kind of what's going on?
James, I love that question. Thank you for asking. Yes, we absolutely do, and actually we have a law that's pending in Congress now. It's called the No Fakes Act. It's bipartisan. It has support all across the political spectrum, so I'm really optimistic that it can get enacted. And what it will do is it will actually provide the right to all of us to actually control and have consent rights over any kind of replication of our image, likeness, or voice. And that's something that we don't have now, and a lot of people don't realize this. You know, you think, oh yeah, somebody can't just go out there and take my face and my voice and do something, but as I think I mentioned to you last time we were here, James, someone did that to me during our contract ratification. They made a deepfake video of me saying false things about our contract, and there's no legal remedy for it. So that really has to change, because it's undermining not only the economics of our industry, but it undermines the confidence that our society has in public figures, medical professionals, just everybody.
Wow, and if that law were passed, I don't want to say that would take care of the problem, but how do you prevent people who aren't going to follow the law? How do you prevent kind of unscrupulous actors from doing that? I imagine this is an ongoing game of whack-a-mole, right? We're always going to be having some version of this conversation.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I think also we can't let 100% perfection be the only thing we'll accept, right? And one of the things that law will do is it gives us an intellectual property right in our face, voice, and likeness, and it means that the platforms, like social media platforms, will have to respond to takedown notices and things like that, which they do not have to do right now. Right now, unless it's copyright, they basically don't have to respond to it. So this would give people the right to get that stuff taken down off social media, the same way a copyright owner can.
You spoke about the economics in the business. Are you thinking about, and are you worried about a future where AI allows some people to do a lot of work and other people kind of get shut out? So, you know, a famous actor can replicate themselves 20 dozen times in all these different movies, and then other actors who are also your members aren't able to do as much work. What about the inequality factor here?
No, that is a real concern. It's a hard concern for us to really deal with, because right now there is, being an actor is a very tough job. Like, there is a lot of competition for every role, and most actors have to just, most of the job is finding the job. So nothing about AI is going to make that better, I don't think, and the sort of inequality issues you mentioned are real. Having said that, I do think the audiences really want that connection. They want to feel that the human performer participated in a project. If you imagine, take Wicked, for example. If the movie Wicked that's out now, if that had been done entirely with digital replicas of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, I don't think the audience would connect with it in the same way. So I do think there's a natural element of audience engagement.
I'm just imagining a super auto-tuned Defying Gravity. That's not what it would be, but that's just where my head went.
Yeah, so I think there will be some natural limits on it, but you're right, it is a real concern.
Let's talk about video games for a second. Are we still in the midst of a video? Where are we with the video game strike?
We are still in the midst of a video game strike. It's actually been almost 6 months that we've been on strike against the major video game companies, and it's all about AI. The strikes of 2023 were AI plus other issues. The video game strike is all about AI, and I have to tell you, James, it's super frustrating, because really we're fighting for the same principles that the studios, the streamers, and the record labels have all agreed on, which is, informed consent for digital replication and fair compensation. Why the video game companies can't get it together to get us across the finish line on that, it's really frustrating, but we're working hard to try and get a deal made there. And but that deal has to be fair to performers, and it has to protect them from abusive uses of AI.
Do they come from that? Does that industry? Do you think it's that they come from a different perspective on the industry, or just think of themselves as a different industry? Obviously, all these things have converged, but do they just come at it from a different angle?
It's funny. Yes, they do think of themselves, and they are a different industry. Having said that, 2 of the biggest companies are also film and TV studios, so it's an interesting convergence. I think it's also, to a certain extent, because they were among the first to use AI technology, in production of any kind of entertainment content. And I think they kind of feel like we're the OGs, and who's anybody else to be telling us how we should use AI? And I get that, but on the other hand, we have to have structured protections for performers so that when they go do one job, that's not their last job. You can't just take that one job's work and use it for the rest of eternity, and they have no career left.
Right. I want to host these C Space Studios in the future too, and not just have some bot be doing it for
Let me
me.
just say, an AI James Kotecki would not be the same.
Oh, I really appreciate your vote of confidence. Beyond, is everything AI now? Is that most of what you think about?
It's a big chunk of what I think about. It's not most of it, because when we talked about the impacts of inflation on people's wages, that was a huge part of the strike of 2023. A lot of people don't remember that because AI is so hot. But I do think we're in a moment right now where we have the opportunity to really work together to channel AI in the right direction, and that's one reason why I'm so focused on it right now. That moment isn't going to last forever, and we have to get it right now, because reversing this ship is going to be a tough challenge.
So you and I talk every year. What do you think we're going to be talking about in 5 years? Can you think that far ahead?
Well, one thing it's funny, I was just telling someone this morning, 5 years ago, everyone was freaking out about NFTs, as you may remember, or at least in the entertainment part of the business. And it turned out that was not the right thing to be freaking out about. AI is. I actually do think we'll still be talking about AI in 5 years. It'll be new iterations of it, and it'll be more focused on generative AI and the ability to create fully synthetic content. It's a real concern for us, and we opened the door to that in our negotiations in 23, but we did not get where we needed to get on it, so I'm sure it's going to be an ongoing topic.
And when's the next negotiation scheduled to happen?
About a year and a half from now,
okay.
James. So yeah,
we'll have a lot to talk about when we come back.
We're starting preparations already, yeah.
Duncan Crabtree-Ireland, SAG-AFTRA, thanks so much.
Thanks, James.
And thank you so much for watching this all-too-human conversation. I'm James Kotecki. This is CES 2025. You're in the C Space Studio. Don't go anywhere because many more great conversations are just ahead.